Hi, everyone. This presentation was given to me when I was a student in public relations and corporate communications at Georgetown University when I was studying for my master's degree. And I've referred to this presentation often over the years. I've used it in several classes before this one. And so I'm sharing it with you in hopes that it will help you to give pressure-free presentations. So, what are the common problems? I call them the fatal five in giving presentations where presentations go bad. One thing is reading too much from the slides, having too much information on your slides, your presentation is too long, you're lacking interaction with the audience, so they feel disconnected from you and your presentation. You're a lifeless presenter, you're slumped down, you're looking at your feet, you got your back to the audience. Are there problems with the room? Is either too warm or too cold? Or they can't hear you, the microphone's not working, or the slides themselves are not working. So some of these you're not going to have any control over, like the room, and you're not going to have a microphone, so you're going to have to project. But how can you overcome these fatal flaws to give pressure-free presentations? Well, the three most wanted are you want to interact with your audience, you want to have some clarity. You got 5 to 8 minutes. In those 5 to 8 minutes, you want to be sure at the end of it that your audience understood what you were talking about and came away either informed or persuaded about your topic. And you also want to show some enthusiasm. Doesn't mean you have to do backflips or be extra cheery, but be upbeat, project. Let your audience know that you're interested in the topic, and then they'll be interested in the topic. So, how do you build a better presentation? Well, here are the things that will help you. Consider your audience, consider the length. Again, you only have 5 to 8 minutes. Keep it interactive, appeal to different learning styles. And we're going to talk about each one of these individually in a moment. Tell stories, open and close strong. Also, have good eye contact, good vocal control, good body language, and a sense of humor. So let's talk about the audience. Who are you talking to? Well, you already know it's your classmates, so that's an easy one there. But why are you talking to them? What do you want them to learn? So you're standing out for 5 to 8 minutes. Why should I invest my time in you? What is it you're trying to inform me about? What is it that you're trying to persuade me about? So keep that in mind as you give your speech. Keep it focused. Let the audience come away having learned something from your speech. Also, the length, again, 5 to 8 minutes, and you're going to be timed. So the length isn't up to you. But if you find yourself in a situation in the future where you have to give a speech and they didn't give you a length, keep this in mind. Attention spans drift after 20 minutes. Consider audience needs and factor in breaks if that's possible. And also, again, stick to your 3 to 5 main points. And we did this exercise where you picked a topic, you picked your goal statement, and you picked the 5 points you wanted your audience to get out of your speech so you can reach your goal. So keep those in mind, stick to them. Also, be interactive. Your audience wants it, it keeps them engaged in what you're saying. It helps break up the one-way flow of information so you're not just standing there droning at them. You're bringing them into what you're discussing. You can do this in a number of ways. You can ask questions. You can ask for a show of hands about something. You can ask someone to briefly give their experience on the topic you're talking about. And the reason for doing this is that it enhances learning. People remember if they were personally involved in your presentation. It may not be possible for all presentations, but you certainly, if it does, incorporate it in your presentation. Also, consider the different learning styles, and there are 5 listed here: logical, quantitative, narrational, foundational, experiential, and aesthetics. Logical quantitative response, the learner responds to numbers and deductive reasoning. For example, I showed you 2 videos during the class, and both were about recycling. One was about recycling clothes, one was about recycling like plastic containers and whatnot. And they gave a lot of facts. So that's for people who respond to numbers. Also, narrational learners, they like good storytelling. So I think I showed you the speech of the young lady at the gun the rally that talked about the need for gun laws, stricter gun laws, and she told stories about young women who had lost their lives to gun violence. So that drew you into her speech. Also foundational. These learners respond more to broad philosophical arguments as opposed to specific facts or stories. For example, the recycling, a broad philosophical argument could be we need to save the planet, and just you're talking about recycling in general. You're not giving any numbers, but you're just appealing to some broad philosophical argument. Also experiential, that's interactive and hands-on. This type of learner likes a show and tell. For example, when we did the group project, the young lady showed how to do a bow in a certain culture. And so that got your attention. It was brief, but it got your attention. So there are people who learn that way. And aesthetics. These are learners who need sensory stimuli to get the full feel of the subject. For example, if you're talking about cooking a certain dish from a certain culture, if you had a sample and you pass it around, that would be good. We're not doing that for our speeches, but in the future, if you have to give a speech, keep that in mind that something like that would appeal to some learners. The more of these you incorporate into your speeches, the better. You may not be able to incorporate all of them, but certainly one of them should be good for your presentation. Also, tell stories. People love a good story. It doesn't have to be long, but tell a story. Who's the protagonist? Who's the hero in the story? What's the hook? What makes your story interesting? Was there any conflict? Have you included telling details in your story? What emotions are you trying to appeal to? Are you trying to make someone sympathetic? Are you trying to make them angry enough to do something? And is the point of your story clear? Is the audience going to come away having understood what you were trying to tell them? So keep that in mind if you're telling a story. What was the point of the story? Also, open strong, close strong. When you open, just dive right in. I think we talked about the opening being maybe 30 seconds and not longer than a minute. And then you're going to get right into it. You're going to open by telling them what you're going to tell them. You're going to your body is going to be you telling them what you want them to know, and then you're going to close by telling them what you just told them in summary. Thank your host. This won't apply here, but if you have to give a speech somewhere else, remember to thank the person who invited you to give the speech. Give any ground rules that may apply to your speech. And again, this won't apply here, but if you're invited to give a speech, just let people know, hey, the bathrooms are back here. Please turn off your phones. I'm going to dim the lights. If you could not get up for food while I'm talking. So give some ground rules if there are any. And close by wrapping it all up again. Tell them what you just told them in summary. Send them off educated, empowered, energized. They should get something from your speech. If it's informative, what did I learn? If it's persuasive, is it going to convince me to say, go out and vote? And at the end, and we're not doing this here, but if you're to give a speech somewhere else in the future, if you want to get the Q&A going at the end, the question and answers, maybe you should ask the audience a question. Say something like, did you learn anything new about this topic that you didn't know before? And that could get the Q&A going instead of saying, does anyone have any questions? And then you're all just sitting there like you sometimes do to me in class and nobody responds. So it might be a good idea to ask a question, and then that'll get the conversation going. Also, keep in mind eye contact. You don't want to be looking at your shoe. You don't want to be the shoe studier. You don't want to be the scenic overlooker where you're kind of looking over everybody's heads and you're not making eye contact with anyone. You don't want to be sir or mistress glance a lot where you're just like looking 1 second here, 1 second there, 1 second there, and you're just like all over the place. You don't want to be the lawn sprinkler either. That's where you're looking one side of the room, tick, 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 the other side, then tick, 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 then back to the other side. You want to kind of take in your whole audience. Focus on one side for a few seconds, then the other side, then the middle, and mix it up. So you don't want to just have your head swiveling back and forth. And you don't want to just focus on one person. I noticed when you all gave your group projects, you all talked to me. Remember, you have a whole entire audience. You have 28 classmates, so make sure you're talking to everyone. Also, watch your voice. You don't want to be too loud. You don't want to go really slow. You don't want to talk so fast. You don't want to talk low, slow. You don't want to be too serious. If your speech is a serious speech, of course, you can be playful if your speech lends itself to that. Also, use humor. People love humor. It's a good way to get and keep attention. However, it has to be appropriate. Consider your subject matter. It may not lend itself to humor. I know a couple of people are doing a topic on eating disorders. There's no humor there. Also consider the circumstances and consider your personality. Maybe you're not a humorous, jokey type person. Now would not be the time to try that. So if it's not you, it's not you. Also, escape from the podium if you can. This may not work here because you're going to be at the computer using the controls to keep your presentation moving forward. I don't have a clicker, sorry. So you're probably going to have to stay at the podium. But in the future, if you're giving a speech somewhere else and you can move around and you have a mic on, do that. Listen, loosen up, open up, don't be afraid. Think of what you're trying to say to the audience instead of yourself. Get out of yourself, get out of your head, focus on your topic, and you should be fine. In conclusion, own your topic, which is why I had you to pick a topic that you're familiar with. Someone who's in the automotive industry is going to give a speech about why you need to do oil changes, where you can go to get an oil change, how you can do it yourself. This is a topic he's very familiar with. Also focus on your audience. Again, get out of your head, focus on what you're trying to tell them, what you want them to learn, what you want them to go out and do. Leave them with those 3 to 5 key points that we did. Also have good eye contact. Don't look up, don't look down, don't just focus on one person, don't whip your head around. Take your time, focus on one side of the room, then the other. Watch your vocals, not too loud, not too slow, mumbling, that sort of thing. Watch your body language. Don't keep your back to the audience. Don't keep looking down at your paper, and use humor if you can. I hope these have been helpful. This is going to be posted in Blackboard so you can look at it over and over as you prepare for your presentations coming up. And also note the source at the bottom. The source is Why Bad Presentations Happen to Good Causes, and it's by Andy Goodman and Cause Communications. So keep your sources in mind when you put your PowerPoints together and have those as your last PowerPoint. Hope this has been helpful. Let me know. See you next class. Bye.